Hi everyone, my name is Doug and I'm the guy you met last week that you guys all came out of your houses to go to this class on a Saturday morning, and I appreciate that, to come listen to me. Okay, and we're all talking about an idea of a hero or like someone we admire, and the idea of a courageous person is different for everyone. For some, it could be someone like their grandparents, their child, or their significant other, and even long ago, people looked up to the stars and saw their heroes there. And one trait that most courageous people have is that we can look at them with amazement and literal awestruck and just be dazed by their presence, and they allure us with their nobility and realness. There is no one like the people we admire. And this isn't easy for me because I'm not like an open book kind of guy. I don't like talking about myself. And I prefer to keep myself shut. But there is one person in my life that every day shows me what a hero, a person, and what a loving figure is. And he's a truly amazing person, and he inspires me every day. My father, Frederick Gadigan, is one of the most important people in my life. My father has been through so much in his 45 years of his life. In those 45 years, he's dealt with absent parents, emotional pain, losing houses, and major painful surgery. He has been a fighter each day of his life and continues every day, still to this day, to fight. In my dad's earliest days, life threw his meanest left hook from the start. My dad learned very early in life that it was not easy. He had no sense of home or stability. My mother took him from place to place, from one abusive boyfriend to the next. Whether these new boyfriends were in Pennsylvania, Florida, or Michigan, it didn't matter, and she took him from all of his friends, everybody he knew, all the time. And since she had custody of him, she prevented him from seeing his dad, who desperately wanted to have a better life for him and wanted to do so much more for him. Since my dad was always moving, he couldn't maintain stable friendships and was always sad and alone. For a vast majority of his life, he had to learn how to readjust and develop new relationships despite what was going on behind closed doors. He didn't have anyone but his mom who cared more about the man she was with than her own son. I admire my dad's perseverance that no young child should ever have to go through what he did. Despite his rough childhood, my father always kept going and never let life stop him from breaking down and giving up. And he never, ever let life destroy him. I admire his inner strength and his courage to keep fighting. I model my life this way. I learned from him that no matter how hard life can be, you never give up and you keep going despite the shortcomings. A few times, my father, mother, and sister and I would have to leave our home and live in places we didn't want to, such as my grandparents' house in West Bristol, which is like right over there, it's not far. This was from about 2005 to 2009. We only can fit in the basement, while my sister got the only spare room. Even though times were tough, we lost our place, we didn't have a lot of money at the time. My dad knew times were very tough and we had to push through. My dad made sure the four of us were always together and that we didn't get separated because he himself growing up was alone and he knew how that felt and didn't want us to go separate ways because he realized growing up the importance of being together because he didn't have that. He wouldn't let us separate and told us that being together was the most important thing. There were times when, because we didn't have a lot of money, that he would make sure we ate first and he would go the rest of the day starving and just making sure we were all right. And that's one thing I definitely admire that during that time he did, making sure we were okay first and he was the one suffering. He made sure that despite the hardships, family being together was the most important thing. Later on, our dad worked himself to the bone to get us out of that situation. There wasn't a day where he didn't go out and work and made sure we were all right, or just giving us money so we can get out and stop being miserable all the time. Despite what little we had, he tried to make it work for us. He showed us that even though life may be tough, staying with the people you love and not giving up and work itself out and you can be happy again. Just last week, it's more like a couple months, my dad has always had health problems, and most recently my dad was diagnosed with heart failure, artificial afibrillation, that is when your heart is beats out of rhythm, and a bad heart valve. It was hard seeing my dad so sick because he was always the person I looked up to in my life that was very strong, always pushing through, but he wasn't doing well. And he himself was so scared, but he kept strong for the family because he didn't want us to start breaking down because it would just make everything worse, even though he was trying to stay strong, but he was breaking down himself. He never had something so major wrong with him, and because his heart issues made him unable to do, it was hard for him to sleep at night. It's hard to explain. He would wake up not being able to breathe. They took him to the hospital a couple times, and he couldn't do any of his activities because fluid. What happens is when you have a bad heart valve, the blood pumps back into the heart and goes in the lungs and stuff. So it was hard for him to breathe all the time. He wasn't himself anymore, and so he was truly in pain. He was hardly able to do much besides being confined to a couch. We took him to St. Mary's, and the doctor told him that his heart was getting worse and that he would need to undergo open heart surgery to survive. He never had major surgery like that before. And He was alone and scared for a couple weeks in the hospital. But despite that, he remained strong, and he was the hero I admire so much. Last week, he underwent a 5-hour heart surgery to replace the heart valve, and he was in dire pain after it. It was really sad seeing, like, right after the surgery, my dad just, like, unconscious, like, through a breathing tube. That was scary to see, because it's someone that, unless you're in that situation, it's kind of hard looking at that like that, because it's your dad. And my dad worked hard after that, because he was supposed to go home for, like, 2 weeks, but he pushed through, passed all the tests. He wanted to be home with his family and his cat. And so he pushed himself every day despite the horrible pain he was in. He fought it, and seeing my dad in such a weak spot but remain so strong really touched me and showed that no matter how you might feel, you can always do something about it. My dad has been through so much, whether it was losing his home without knowing what to do, his shortcomings early on in life, or major scary surgery. My dad is one of the strongest people I know and fights every day, and I admire him for that. He never gave up once, and I don't plan to either. He's someone that many should look up to, and a father I wish every kid should have. He is a one-of-a-kind, awesome father, and I'm glad he's in my life. I love you, Dad.